Welcome to season 9 of the Charity Matters podcast. I'm Heidi Johnson, nonprofit founder, lifelong helper, and your host. I've been interviewing modern day heroes for over a decade with my blog, and I'm so excited to share these inspiring conversations on our podcast. Join me as we learn the challenges and stories of innovators, entrepreneurs, and modern day heroes who set out to solve the problems of humanity. Did you know that special needs families are the largest minority group in the world? Today's guest is no stranger to this fact. Drew Long is the founder of Caroline's Cause, and I'm so excited to share her amazing journey and our incredible conversation about all that she's doing to make an enormous difference in the world. You are not going to want to miss this. We're so excited to have Drew Long from Caroline's Causes today. Welcome, Drew. I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah, excited to be here.
It's so great and really exciting because I always say that nonprofit founders are entrepreneurs, but you're an entrepreneur in multiple ways. But before we get into your business and your nonprofit, I want to hear a little bit about what Caroline's Causes does for our audience.
So Caroline's Cause is of course, it's a nonprofit, and it awards college scholarships to entering freshmen. So and to qualify, you have to have a special needs sibling. So
Okay.
the family dynamic is one like mine, where I
Right,
have a special needs child. I also have typical children. So
right,
we know, we've watched it in our own family, that the typical siblings take a back seat to their special needs child. Has nothing to do with love, loving them less, has nothing to do with that. It's just the family dynamic. The special needs
right,
sibling requires more. My
right,
kids know that. She has seizures. She's 25. She doesn't walk. She's in a diaper. So growing up, they, of course, know that Caroline gets more of mama's time. So
right.
we wanted to honor those siblings because there's nothing out there for them. And we wanted to say, hey, we see you and we want to thank you for being such a great brother or
Mm,
sister.
I love that.
And thank you for taking the back seat so selflessly. And
I
that's how it was born.
I love that. I love that. So as I always say, we don't no nonprofit founder that I've ever interviewed, and I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands in the last 15 years, has ever signed up and like when they were little said, when I grow up, I want to be a nonprofit founder. Never, ever has that happened. There's a journey that we all go on that we get led to that presents itself. And what's fascinating to me is we all get handed, I'm not going to say bad card, but we all get handed something challenging in our life. But only a handful of us decide to take that challenge and use it as fuel for good and change it. And that's what makes people like you, Drew, special, unique, and exciting to me because I think the world is focusing on the wrong people. And we need to be focusing on people that take a challenge and say, I'm going to do something about that. So, talk to me before we get into your for profit business. Talk to me about as a child, did you have role models that were philanthropic? Were your family philanthropic? Was there something that just when you look back on your life, before you were married, before you had kids, that might have been early seeds of some of this?
Well, I grew up with a special needs aunt.
Oh,
So
okay.
my mom had a sister who had cerebral palsy.
Okay.
So special, I think that was God's way of softening me and preparing me for what I had no idea was coming.
Right.
And so I was always just tenderhearted toward that, you know.
Mm,
Um, and of course, nobody wants a special needs child, and that's okay. That is okay to
right.
say. It took me a long time to admit that because a lot of people are like, oh, you don't love her. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to
Right.
do with if you are a mom or a dad, you have hopes and dreams for your children. We all do.
Right. Right.
And those crash and burn when
Right.
you face what I faced. So I
Right.
think my heart was prepared. I don't know if I had anyone in the nonprofit world that steered me that way, but I certainly had examples growing up of special needs in families.
Well, I mean, and it is, you do look back and see these little seeds that kind of
Hmm.
set the course of the trajectory of our life. And we only see in hindsight, we never see them when they're coming.
Sure.
But I think so. I know before, obviously, you have a daughter named Caroline, and I want to hear about Caroline because before you got into the nonprofit space, you did something really incredible in the for-profit space, but it almost should be considered. It is an impact, a philanthropy, a gift to society and the world. What you did. So why don't you share a little bit about Caroline's Carts and what was the precursor to all of this?
Sure. So I have three kids, and my husband always traveled with his job. So years ago, what do moms do all the time? We're out shopping. We're feeding our kids. We're going to the store. And I did that with three kids in tow. My kids were aged where I couldn't leave, the big ones couldn't babysit. So
Right.
I would carry Caroline into the store and lay her down in the basket or use the fun carts that she could fit in. And when she was about 8 years old, she outgrew everything. And I live in a small town, Alabama. And I went to my store manager and I said, Caroline, you see me in here all the time. Caroline has now outgrown everything. Could you please order, because I'm sure they exist, a special
Right.
needs shopping cart? And he said, there are no special needs shopping carts. I'm so sorry. And that was the genesis of my journey right then and there, because that was not okay. The special needs
No.
population is the world's largest minority group.
Right.
I didn't know that till I became a member of it. And I
Right.
thought, my word, millions of families need this, not just me.
Right.
And I set out on a journey that day to change the culture of retail shopping for families like mine.
Which just gives me the chills. I mean, and again, to my point, millions of people, as you say, have been suffering this plight for decades,
Ever?
centuries, forever, forever.
Yes.
And and all of a sudden, here you come. Here comes Drew saying, we got to change that.
Yes.
We're going to find a way.
Yes.
I'm going to take a gander. You've never designed a shopping cart before.
My goodness, no. I mean, I have a degree in business. I did accounting my whole entire career until I was a stay-at-home mom, and this was nothing I intended to do. I drew it on a napkin, literally. My husband and I had gone to dinner after I talked about it for 6 months, and I never wanted to do it. What I wanted to do and what I thought I was doing, I got it off a napkin into a piece of paper, and I reached out to the only shopping cart manufacturers in the US. There's four in the United States.
Wow.
And I sent them my idea and I said, just do it. I didn't want money. I was just like, it was
Right.
on a piece of paper, which I still have, and I'll send to you. Just do this. And all four of them shot me down and said no. Nobody was interested. And I was at a crossroads and I told my husband, I said, oh my goodness, I, what, I mean, I felt like I gave them
Right.
this gift of
Right.
do this. I want
You
nothing.
did. You
And they,
did.
all four of them were like, not interested, crazy lady from Alabama. So after another 6 months, I told my husband, I said, if this is going to happen, I've got to figure out how to do it. I
Well,
mean,
because you still have a lot, you have decades of shopping ahead of you.
right,
This isn't
right,
right.
right,
Even though
right.
your kids are getting bigger, you
Sure,
still have to
sure,
put Caroline in a cart.
right, right. So yeah, it became a job for me that I never wanted. I never intended, but it was something I could not let go of. I knew the world needed a special needs shopping cart. I didn't know how to do it, and that's what took me so long. I had to figure it out and
And
fail a million times.
what year did you unveil your cart and launch your business?
Okay, so I started in '08, and the first carts hit the market in 12.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was
Wow.
after, and again, corporate America could have done it in 30 days, but corporate America wasn't interested. So,
Because it takes someone with a heart and passion, which is what changes the world.
yeah,
And it is passionaries, people who care that make everything happen. That is how stuff gets done. And that's exactly what you did. So then your world changes because now you're still managing a family and you're still managing a special needs daughter. Now you're managing a business. So talk to me about the transition from the business to when you decided to do Caroline's Causes.
Sure. So yeah, those early years when you said I was managing a family and a business, yeah, I cried a lot.
Yeah.
I was so far in over my head and I didn't even know it. Um,
But no one
so
ever does, by the way. There's no
right,
man, I mean, there's no manual. That's how everyone does
sure,
it, right? A
sure.
lot of
Looking back,
tears,
it's like, how did I do that? How did we
right?
survive that, David?
Right.
How? So after that started to take up less than 200 hours of my week of time after I decided to catch up on more than 1 hour of sleep at night. My oldest daughter in 2016 was going to college. So, in looking for scholarships, as all parents do, we found
Right.
a million. We're like, oh my gosh, if you're left handed, you get a scholarship. Oh my gosh, if you have 2% of Ireland in you, you get a scholarship. Oh my. So, because we were seeing so many bizarre things, I'm like, oh my goodness, Mary Grace, I bet there's a scholarship out there if you have a special needs sibling. And there wasn't. So that was the genesis of my nonprofit. I was like, wait a minute. And I told David, I'm like, I've got a great idea. And he was about to shut me down. He was like, "Ah." I said, David, this is not a product. This is a nonprofit. This would be so much easier, which it hasn't been. But
No, it's
right. I
not.
mean, I live up here. My husband lives down here. You know, my
Excuse me.
my husband has to tell me all the time to come back from Oz that I live in Oz. That where
Well, because a nonprofit is a business with a really bad business model that
right.
relies on the kindness of others to run, which is not a great business model. As a businesswoman, you know that. And
Oh,
yet,
yeah, I've learned
and
that.
yet, and yet we all blindly we lead with the heart and we jump into the deep end of the pool. So what year did you did you start the nonprofit in 2016 or did
Not
you
in
go through the
16. And I think I actually started it um, at the end of 2017. Then my husband had a massive heart attack a
Oh,
couple months.
geez.
Oh, he lived, but I had to. I was like, okay, can't do this right now. So
Wow.
I had to put it in the drawer, and it really, really started. I picked it back up in 2019 after
Wow.
I got over that. Um, and yeah, it has. So yes, it was born out of a need for
Right.
for my second daughter, for my typical daughter this time,
Right.
and now, gosh, we have awarded 13 scholarships, I believe.
Oh, so talk to me before we get to all the impact, because I'm really excited to hear all that. And 13 scholarships is amazing. Talk to me about, I mean, some of the challenges. Everybody has challenges when they're starting a nonprofit because we still have laundry and life and bills and taxes and all the stuff we have to do. But you also have a special needs child and a business.
Mhm.
You have, I mean, you were maxed at special needs child. Then you took it to the next level and you have a business.
Mhm.
And now where you're manufacturing a product and distributing a product. And now you have a nonprofit. So talk to me about how you juggled all of this. I mean,
Well,
this is
this is going to sound silly, but it is so, so true. It is, I, because I was so naive doing both things,
right,
thinking it would be easy, that has sustained me. And I say that with all seriousness. I really thought the cart would be easy. It wasn't. I thought a
right.
nonprofit would be, it's not a product. So
Right.
if you don't have a product to peddle, surely everybody's going to just love my nonprofit as much as I do. So being so naive has kept me afloat. Had I seen, and I think most people can say, if you see the big picture, we wouldn't do it. You know, my husband and I we had to fund the cart business with our retirement. We never intended to do that. We would have
Right.
never done that.
Right.
I would never have started the cart business had I known that. So I'm very glad for the things that I don't know. I think you can probably say the same as we look back. Um,
Right.
so for both businesses, I have
Right.
learned as I've gone, and it's that has helped me because had I sat down with some of the top nonprofit leaders and interviewed them and heard probably all the bad, I would have said, well, I'm not doing this. So I like
Right.
that I really don't know what's around the corner, that works in my favor.
Well, and I think that, I mean, literally, no one I've ever interviewed, a couple people, and I will say having a business, at least having a business background, running a business, does give you a huge advantage because it is another business that you're running, but it's just a different type of business. But you already at least have the idea of what you have to do with marketing and budget and boards and all of that, which is a huge advantage. But no one knows what they're doing when they get into this, and everyone, not everyone, but most people that I've interviewed, including even me when I started a nonprofit in 2002, um, I thought if I could just help one child, if I could just help one child have a chaplain at their bedside at our local children's hospital in Los Angeles, then if we could just help one child, then that would be fine. But what happens with every business and every nonprofit is we're our own worst and best enemies because we then say, oh, well, one can be two, and two can be 10, and 10 can be 100, and so on and so forth. So you mentioned earlier that you've, as far as impact, you've given 13 scholarships. Talk to me about what fuels you when you are juggling a business. You were still juggling Caroline. You have grown children. You have a husband. You have a home. You have life. What fuels you to keep going and doing this work with all you have going on? What really
That's
inspires you?
such an easy answer to that, and that's award day. When I get to make the phone calls to the families and they're crying, and it's the only
Um,
scholarship that their child got. Because you know what? We
mm,
don't look at the ACT. I lived that nightmare with two of my kids, and that is hard. I do not believe it is a good representation of your knowledge.
right,
We require only a 3.0 GPA, and it is need based. So many of these kids that might have a 3.0, a 3.1, a 3.2,
right,
and a low ACT, they're not going to get an academic scholarship. It's
right,
not
right,
going to happen for them. So
right,
we lowered that bar
right,
because we believe that there are millions of well deserving students out there who do not get an academic scholarship. So,
yep.
what keeps me going? Award day. When the mom calls
Mm,
me crying, or I'm FaceTiming, and they're like, it wasn't going to happen without this. We just needed that initial boom, that initial push, and it's a one-time 5,000. And when we came up with that number, a lot of people said that's too much. Well, we wanted to move the needle. College is expensive. I've
yeah.
got one through, I've got one in. So if we just gave a 1,000, I don't think that moves the needle enough. I think
Mm-mm.
5,000, if you can't afford a 4 year, guess what? 5,000 is going to pay for a year tuition at a junior college.
Right,
So
right.
we wanted, yes, we could have helped more, but what it wasn't enough maybe to push them over the edge to start that education. And that's why we did the 5,000. We really, really wanted to say, okay, this is at least enough for your first year of junior college.
Well, and also I think I talk about this all the time. I have three sons, and knock wood, they're all out of college. I mean, I think I'll be paying it
Did
for
it.
it till the day I die, but they're all
Me.
out. But when I think about a bell curve, the reality is if bell curves are real, and I believe they are, that means the majority of students in this country are B students, or they're B
That's
minus
right.
students,
That's right.
and they're not at Stanford or Harvard, and they're not wherever down at these other schools. They're in the middle, and those kids, if the majority of them are in the middle, there aren't even colleges that want B students. There's all these colleges that want the A students, and all these colleges that will take students that don't have a pulse. But where is the place that wants those all those wonderful kids in the middle who need help.
100%. 100%.
In addition to now adding that they have a sibling that has special needs and their family is in financial hardship. I listened to your video and was hearing about, maybe you can share a little bit about this number. The what the United States government says it costs to raise a regular child, whatever that means, versus what it costs to raise a special needs child. I mean, those
Well,
numbers
I
are
live
mind
that.
blowing.
I have both. And everybody's like, oh, well, insurance and Medicaid. I can tell you, I appreciate those and those are wonderful. But wheelchair vans, nobody pays for those. In fact, I need a new one. I just priced a brand new one and it was $87,000.
Wow.
So right, so I'm like, I remember at the deal I was like, how long is this going to sit here, because families like mine, we don't have that kind of money. And they're like, well, here's the
Right.
tip, you buy used. And so yeah, yes, I'm thankful for what my daughter does get, but I live that she is more expensive to raise than my two kids that went to college, because there are so
Right.
many things that she needs. But if you
Right.
put special needs in front of any product or service, the price just went up. It exploded.
Well, I couldn't believe those numbers. I mean, and these are government numbers that I think your husband quoted in the video saying
Yes,
they're saying 240,000 for, a
a
healthy
typical,
average American child,
typical, sure.
and 1.4 to 2.4 million
Yes,
for a special needs child. And that's not even college. That's
right, right,
just life.
right,
That
right.
is, I mean, those numbers are staggering.
It is staggering,
So,
and it's true. If somebody were to be like, oh, that's inflated, talk to anyone that has both. I challenge you to talk to anyone that has both, because,
right.
of course, we want our special needs children to have all the things they need, and all the
Right.
things they need are not covered.
Right.
They're
Right.
just not. And you're looking at they don't move out of the house. They don't
Right.
have income. They don't get
Right.
jobs.
Right.
It's on mom and dad. I know. I have friends in my circle who they are not retiring. The dad is going to continue to. He could retire, but he needs to keep going because they still have a special needs child in the home.
Wow. I mean, it's just so crazy. So talk to me about impact. You've said 13 scholarships, but impact also means different things to different people. When we're in the nonprofit space, it's a horrible thing that we're constantly being asked to measure our impact. And sometimes that's a number, a statistic, 13 scholarships, but 13 scholarships, it's more, impact is more than that. It's a life that's changed. So do you have any story about an impact, or no? Are you starting to see, now that you've been doing this for a while, kids that are coming through school and you're seeing that this made a difference?
Oh, 100%, because I still keep up with them and I keep up with their families. And our first winners are graduating this spring.
Oh,
So I've talked to families that have said, wow, you took a burden off of us just in
mm,
that first year. And it's even more than finances. It's it's their not, I don't want to say ego, but it's their, wow, I got a scholarship. I was never going to get a scholarship with a 22 on my ACT.
right,
Wow, I get to go up on awards day and I get to be with my peers. So it
mm,
goes beyond money. It helps them. It gives them the boost of, okay, all right, I'm legit. I'm going to be able to do this, and a sense of pride. Gives them a sense of
right,
pride. That's what I was looking for. So wow, I sit back, and I've seen that again with my own kids because I have both. And for them to get that scholarship, they're proud of that.
right.
We've got this year, we have our first student who went to welding school, and his mom said, we never, she's like, I had him apply on a whim, thinking, wait a minute, welding school is a trade school. We couldn't be more proud to support someone that goes to trade
That's
school,
great.
because college
We
is not for everyone.
and we need tradesmen. We
Absolutely, we do.
desperately need tradesmen. My
Yes.
husband's in the construction business, and he turns around construction companies that are struggling, and all different types, whether it's engineering companies or roofing or everything. And
Mhm.
let me tell you, we have a shortage of men and tradesmen in all of these fields, and we
Sure.
desperately need them. So
Right.
I love that you're supporting that because the need for that is, and AI is not replacing a welder, and
That's right.
AI is not replacing a plumber or an air
That's right.
conditioning person.
That's right.
So that is brilliant. So if you could
We've
do,
got to normalize that for this generation. We've got to
I
normalize caregiving.
agree. I
Yes.
agree. And also I'm being married to someone who's a fixer who just loves to fix things all 24 hours a day. I think if that had been an option for him to just he fixes companies now, but I mean he's a turnaround guy, but he would have done that all day long. I mean, and I think it just wasn't we were all programmed you're going to
Yeah.
college. And
Right.
I
Sure.
think
That's right.
and I think you're right. I think we absolutely have to normalize that because we're going to be in a real problem and we can't get a plumber or a
Mhm.
washing machine installer to come and install our
You
new
bet.
washing machines.
You better believe it.
Right? So if you could dream any dream for Caroline's cause, what would that look like? What's the big dream?
To never have an unfunded scholarship. Last year, okay, so it took a while to get out there for everyone to hear about it because it was so new. I mean, it was new.
Right.
78 unfunded scholarships. So what is my dream? That's how huge it has gotten. My dream is to
Wow.
never have an unfunded scholarship. And Caroline's Cause is my give back. I do not take a salary.
Right.
I want to I don't say warn people, educate people. My daughter works for a massive nonprofit, where you can, they have so much payroll and overhead.
Right. Right.
Know where your money goes. I
Right.
encourage people, I have dogs. I love dogs. But if you give to some of these organizations, 10% goes to the dogs.
Mhm.
Know where your money goes.
Right.
I, I think that's important, and I say that not to be prideful. I say that because everybody does work hard for the money, and people want to know where their money goes. So if
Right.
somebody gives me $5,000, goes
Yeah.
in, they get their tax deduction, and out goes $5,000.
Right. Right. And I do think I agree with you. I mean, we have 1.6 million nonprofits in the United States, and I have a huge heart for our, I don't want to say small and scrappy entrepreneurs, but we all start that way. And God bless Susan G. Komen. She started that way too. I mean,
Right.
it was literally sitting at her sister's bedside and
I love that story. And
right.
look at it now. Look
And
at
look at
that
it
now.
now. And she was one woman. I mean, yes, her husband, ran Chili's restaurants, and yes, she's had some great contacts in her Rolodex, but she's changed trajectory. So I have no shade on anyone who's huge and successful.
Zero.
But but I do think our community and our local and all of our small nonprofits really need the love. And I love what you're saying about really look at where your money goes because some of the bigger ones have bigger overhead and not every dollar is going to the cause
Right.
that you
Right.
want it to. So
Right.
I hear you. I run a little one and I live it every day.
You live it
So
every day.
I live it every day. So talk to me about there's so many life lessons just in having a special needs child, but the lessons and in starting a business and in starting a nonprofit. So since this journey has begun for you, what really life lessons have you learned from all of this?
I never dreamt that number one, the cart would be where it is today. And my life lesson from that is I was faced at a crossroads. It was corporate America had turned me down and was not interested in doing this. Had I not lived every day what millions live, because I am one of the world's largest mentor group, Caroline's cart would not be here today. You know, you cannot be afraid of hard. Do not take no from
Mm.
someone who can't say yes. Be
Oh,
willing to put it all on the line. Is it scary? It's terrifying. Is it risky? I never dreamt I was the kind of risk taker, but I do think that's what it takes. And I think before anybody gets started, you have to know that you may be asked to go down a path that you never dreamt you were going to go down. And I think there are so many life lessons. I mean, my typical kids, they saw the sacrifices that we had to make for
right.
the cart, and just be willing to make those sacrifices.
Well, as a parent of a special needs child, as any parent, we make sacrifices. Parenting, period, is a sacrifices.
100%.
Special needs child is the next level sacrifices. It's taking sacrifice to. So those are not strangers to you. You're used to making sacrifices. But what a beautiful, bold move that you've made. And you've changed hundreds of thousands or more of lives. I mean, it's your impact through your business is bigger than right now than your impact in your nonprofit,
Yes, yes. And I want to,
right?
and I think we touched on this a little while ago, but the the cart was, yes, my idea. It was my retirement on the line, my husband's retirement. But if it was not for the special needs community that rallied behind it and helped to create that demand, I could
Right,
not have done it alone.
right.
And that was another reason we started Caroline's Cause. We wanted to give back to the same community
Mm,
that
right,
supported us to get the
right,
cart off the ground. I live in small town Alabama. I can't go to Michigan and I can't go to California and all these places. Back in the day, I couldn't,
right,
to create a demand, to go to their local
right.
stores. But I had this community behind me that did. So Caroline's Cart was a grassroots national movement, and that is why we wanted to give back through our nonprofit to, to the same families that helped us. We want to help them.
I love that. I mean, I absolutely love that. And there's just so many you're right, there's so many lessons in there about community and
Mhm.
connection and risk taking and love and doing this for the love of your child
Yeah.
and humanity because and everyone else's child and all these other moms. I mean, I can't even relate. I remember just with three little boys going to the grocery store and having, one in the backpack, one in the car, one running around. I'll never forget. He grabbed all the plastic bags and ran all around the whole store and then knocked all the oranges down. And I just stood there with one in the backpack and one in the cart going, I don't even know what to do here. I just stood there. I was an absolute stood there. I just was totally paralyzed.
Right.
And then you having to push a wheelchair and a cart and add to your other kids. What the gift you've given is just it's so unbelievable. So do you think you've changed in all of this?
Yeah, I don't think you can go through what I went through financially, emotionally, um, for years of not knowing, how are we going to pay our bills, and is this going to ever return a profit where we can pay our retirement back?
Right,
Yeah, I think, I say this, I say, you can't be a special needs parent without having a thick skin. So I think that being a special needs parent, that 8 years prior, learning to fight for my daughter, I think that was a great um, road to be on, to have that thick skin, because it
right.
does, you do have to bow up and you do need to have a thick skin to start a business. You know,
Oh,
it's not for
right,
the weak. You have to,
right,
you can't take things personally. And my gosh, how many people have told me no? I mean, I'm still getting no from Costco, and I've been doing this for 15 years and they're still not interested. Yet Sam's did a national rollout. So, you better have a place to draw some strength
right.
from. And I did get that, being special needs mom.
Well, and right, because we learn to become advocates for our children, and we become warriors on some level, and some of us have to be warriors more than others. And I remember just, I mean, not even the same level, but I have two children with, learning challenges, and I became fierce. I became just, you're not Mama Bear. You are not stopping me. And I think that that's brilliant because we really do need to channel that to do this to make things better. And when you think back, it really is the path that it starts carving the path, saying, "Oh no, you're not stopping me now. I've
Right,
already been
right.
through all
Failing is
this."
part of the journey. That's another life. Failing is part of the journey.
I love
Don't
that.
quit. Just be like, okay, big deal, whatever. And it is just, I don't think anybody can say, I started a business from scratch and I never one time failed, or I never one time hit
Right.
a roadblock. Oh, get over it and you have to keep moving on.
No,
Just keep going.
no. And to your point too, no one ever started a nonprofit or a business by themselves. It always is community, because really what our role is in starting a nonprofit is really creating community around something where we see there's a problem and how we fix it. And you've done that in a for-profit business and a nonprofit business. You've used the same community to help leverage to continue helping in different ways. And
That's
I
right.
think that's just such a beautiful gift, Drew. And I'm so inspired by
Thank you.
you and what you've done and what you continue to do and give. So tell us how we can support you, get involved, donate, all the good stuff.
So I have one global website that has both businesses, and it's drewandspeaks.com.
Okay.
And that is where, a lot of, I am a speaker and I do travel. And one of the benefits, I will say, of hiring me to speak is companies can pay my nonprofit, get a tax benefit, get a tax deduction
Nice.
for having me
Nice.
come and speak, and that money goes to give scholarships.
I
So,
love that.
yes, also, and again, you've probably heard this a million times, no amount is too small. We take Venmo. We cherish any donation because, again, if somebody has $5 in is $5 out.
I love that. And do you have an Instagram or social media
Oh,
presence?
yes, yes, I do. Well, I had a massive, massive following, as you can imagine, on Facebook, but I got hacked this summer and they
Oh,
deleted my page. I've had to start over. So yeah, now,
oh,
oh, it's been tragic. So yes, I'm on Facebook, Caroline's Cart, Instagram, Caroline's Cart, TikTok, Caroline's Cart. That's a new, I know. I look, I swore off TikTok for a long time. And my kids were like, that's where it's at, Mom. TikTok. So
yeah.
I'm on TikTok. So yes, all the social
I'm
media channels.
I am not on TikTok. I am not on TikTok. I'm everywhere else, but I'm not on TikTok. So I'm impressed, Drew. But Drew, I'm more impressed. It's not about TikTok. I'm more impressed with the impact your life has made on so many lives. What a
Thank you.
gift, and what a gift Caroline has inadvertently given to the world as well. Whether she
Yes.
knows it or not, she
Her
has
legacy. This is her
inspired.
legacy, right? Yeah.
Her
This is
legacy is
legacy.
a beautiful legacy of service through you and your family. Ah, it just makes me want to cry. These are the
Oh,
stories
you're so sweet. Thank
I
you.
love to share. And I'm so grateful for you, for what you're doing and for sharing your story with us. So thank you.
Thank you. And I thank you because it's people like you that allow me to continue my advocacy work for both businesses. So, yes,
Oh,
without podcast, how do I get my word out?
oh, thank you, Drew. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Charity Matters podcast. I really enjoyed talking to Drew about what it takes to start a business that truly changes people's lives. I think her comment about not being afraid of hard was so inspiring and true. To learn more about these modern day heroes and entrepreneurs, visit us at charity-matters.com or connect with us on Instagram at Charity Matters. If you enjoyed our conversation, we would love it if you shared it with your family and friends. And please don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It is such a gift. But more than that, thank you for caring. Thank you for believing in goodness and for being a part of this movement. You are exactly what the world needs more of. And remember that together, we can make a difference, one small act of kindness at a time. Charity matters. See you next time.